Hello, everyone. This is APO Sports, and we're back right again with our series with NBA comparisons with the Indiana Fever players, comparing them to prior NBA players. Sometimes there's current NBA players, sometimes from way back in the day. At least players that I've observed, that I've watched play. So today we're doing Damiris Dantas, and for this one, it was tough. It was a little bit tough to try to get an NBA comparison because at first I thought, well, maybe she's a little bit of a Robert Horry, and the playing time and the way that she's used by teams and the way that she has been used for her entire WNBA career kind of, makes you think like, okay, this is a Robert Horry type of player because she gets Robert Horry type of minutes and respect, I guess. And although Robert Horry was an excellent clutch player, and whenever you needed a bucket, you wanted the ball in his hands as far as taking the shot, right? Because he couldn't really do much. He couldn't create his own shot. He had to depend on other people to set him up, and then he'll knock down the shot. Well, that's very different than Damiris Dantas, because although, again, I think she doesn't get enough respect for the amount of things that she does on the basketball court. She's not Robert Horry. She's not just waiting around for someone to set her up. You can give her the ball and she'll go and get hers. It doesn't matter from where. She can get it from three. She can do step back. She can do fadeaway. She can post up. Like her offensive game arsenal is insane. Like she can do it all on the basketball court. But for whatever reason, she has flown under the radar for her WNBA career. And I arrived at Rasheed Wallace. So we're going to be comparing Damiris Dantas to Rasheed Wallace. And their games are actually pretty similar. And before we get into the numbers, we have a highlight reel. So just go ahead and watch the clip, enjoy the clip, and then we'll get back after the clip to do some statistical analysis. I do want to give a quick shout out to Maximilian711 for his channel on YouTube for having the clip and some highlights of Rasheed Wallace's game. It was super hard to find anything with Rasheed Wallace, so I was thankful to watch to be able to find that. So I hope you enjoy.
Dantas backing it on Dulcet. Dantas with a step back. Dotson connects. She's going to be the key.
As we come up on 2 minutes remaining in this opening quarter. Wallace now working on Horry. Rasheed Wallace.
Indiana's had 3 empty possessions. Phoenix working a little zone here, trying to find anything that'll work. As Dantas connects from the mid-range.
Wallace gets a pick from Davis, fires it up and in.
And wouldn't you know it?
Wheeling behind Boston. Clark speeds into the paint. Kicks it out. Dantas. She got it. Everybody involved.
Been the answer for everything the Lakers have thrown at him, particularly with Penberthy staring him in the face. Wallace for 3. Yeah, baby!
Cini is guarding Caitlin Clark now. Damiris Dantas puts the spin move on Cole.
12 seconds to go. Portland playing for last shot. Wallace taking it quickly.
8 points for Tina Charles in this quarter alone. And we're just a couple of minutes in. Dantas, top of the key. She can do that as well.
Situation there, but Sean Leonard probably could have pump faked. He had the bigger Davis on him. Take that ball in the basket. Rasheed Wallace.
As head coaches, they were dueling X's and O's many years ago. And Dantas from the elbow, her first jumper.
Here's Pippen over on the left side for the Trailblazers. And Rasheed Wallace now comes out, gets the ball on the angle. Here's the fake, here's the drive. Pushes it up and hits an 8-footer left side against the brothers.
Push it back to a 13-point lead. Speaking of Nafisa Colliermeyer, a former or a fellow Jeff City.
Wells has it on the way. Inside to Wallace, outside to Pippen. Back to Wallace in the paint. Shoot and score.
Benley feed inside Dantas. Oh, the bank shots.
Rasheed Wallace time. She likes that little fall-away jump shot towards the baseline. There it is right there. That's what he wants. Little turn.
Defense by Indiana. Dantas takes the lead right back from Indiana.
Smith on a drive. And finds Wallace for 3. And he's also through. 1-point game.
team all season long who beat their opponent by just scoring a lot of points. It wasn't because they were playing any kind of luck.
As a fan of the Raptors, if you're a fan of the Raptors, you might not like the way that he left Toronto. This guy, though, played his heart out when he was here and still plays his heart out. Wallace on the turnaround. No, he really...
Okay, so here we go. Here we go. Let's compare the numbers real quick because this is kind of crazy. And we have to start with just the totals for the per game, because if we do, this is what we have to do per 36 minutes and per 100 possessions, because if we do per game, that is so unfair to Dantas in that in her career she's only averaged 20 minutes per game, which, you know, it's kind of a lot. It's a lot more than what she played last year for Indiana, which was about 9 minutes or 10 minutes per game. But in her career in the WNBA, she has played 20 minutes per game. Rasheed Wallace, 32 minutes per game. So there's a 12-minute discrepancy there that we cannot just analyze total numbers. So we have to do per 36 minutes. And once we look at the per 36 minutes, then things start to get kind of crazy and similar as far as these two players are concerned. So we have 16 minutes per 16 points for Rasheed Wallace, 13.2 points for Damiris Dantas. The turnovers, Damiris Dantas just a slightly above, but it's still pretty similar. And then you notice if we look at the turnovers and then the assist, so Dantas does, just get more assists. Therefore, maybe that's why she has more turnovers. Blocks. So, I mean, Rasheed Wallace was a shot blocker for sure. And, and he had a lot more elevation than Damiris Dantas. Dantas doesn't jump that high. She has a good jump shot, but not as much elevation. I mean, Rasheed Wallace in some games, he would alley-oop from out of nowhere, right? So even though his body, he wasn't super athletic, but he could jump. He could jump. His looks were deceiving, like that guy. So he would get more block shots, but steals is similar. Assists, like we said, Damiris Dantas seems to be just a better distributor, slightly better distributor. Rebounds, about the same, 7.3 for Dantas, 7.4 for Wallace. And then we get to the free throw percent. Damiris Dantas just a better free throw, slightly better free throw shooter. It appears to me that Dantas is overall better shooter than what Rasheed Wallace was. So if we look at the 3-point percentage, and Rasheed Wallace could shoot the three, he was a really good 3-point shooter, but he was at 33.6%, Dantas 34.5%. So again, similar percentages, similar attempts per 36 minutes. So 4.2 for Dantas, so she shoots a lot more and hits at a higher clip. 3.2 for Wallace. Even on the 2-point attempts or the 2-point percentage, Rasheed Wallace just slightly above Dantas. And the thing with Wallace, though, is that he took tough shots game after game after game. He was on the post. He was doing fadeaways. He was a tough shot maker, and for him to have it to have it at this clip is impressive. And overall shooting percentage for field goal percentage, almost 43% for Dantas and 47% for Wallace. But these are really similar numbers, interesting similar numbers. And then if we look at the per 100 possessions, it's pretty much the same as well, just with some slight differences, because now we're looking at 100 possessions. But one thing that I like to look at for advanced statistics is the offensive rating, defensive rating. So again, both of them in their career have been in the positive. So Dantas is just +1, but you have to consider also who they've shared the court with. And I forgot to mention at the beginning, but these were we're looking at both of their careers, the totality of their careers. For Wallace in the NBA, for Dantas in the WNBA. So looking at advanced numbers, pretty similar stuff as well. If we look at their player efficiency rating, Wallace was just used a little bit more, so he had a chance to have that a higher number for the player efficiency numbers. A true shooting percentage, the edge to Rasheed Wallace only because he was a tough shot maker, more so than Dantas. Rebound percentage about the same. Assist percentage, we already said slight edge to Dantas. Steals about the same. Turnover rate, we already mentioned a little bit more for Dantas. Usage rate, pretty similar as well. Now we need to look at playoff numbers. And when we look at playoff numbers, this takes a slight turn, and we have a much better player per 36 minutes per 100 possessions in Dantas than we do in Wallace. So this is interesting, and this is what I talked to about how much of a game time player Damiris Dantas is in comparison to other players in, even NBA or WNBA players and everything like that. So if we look at per 36 minutes in the playoffs, Dantas with an edging point, 17.8 for Dantas, 14.7 for Wallace. Turnovers again, more for Dantas, but again, she also has more assists, more steals. It seems like Dantas has not had a block in the playoffs. It's a lot less games, but she hasn't had a block shot in the playoffs. But steals ahead of Wallace. Rebounds, super similar. Even offensive rebounds is pretty similar. Free throw percentage, her numbers improve come playoff time. 3-point percentage, her numbers improve come playoff time. 2-point percentage, which was, an edge to Wallace. Not here. Improving, again, just improving the numbers and the percentages in the playoffs across the board for Dantas, and it's different for Wallace. And then field goal percentage, 50% to 44%, edge Dantas. And then even the field goal attempts, right? Like regular season, 13.4 and 11. Playoffs, she takes more shots. Per 100 possessions, kind of the same thing that we already talked about. But look at how this flipped. We went from regular season, 13.4 and 17. And then in the playoffs, she's got a 17.2. Again, improving in the playoffs. True shooting, 64 from regular season, 52. Playoffs, 64, almost 65%. Just numbers. This doesn't happen. Like, this doesn't tend to happen. Like, people typically decline their performance in the playoffs. Not the case for Dantas. Again, 11.4% steals, better numbers. Usage. Look at how they were used in the playoffs. Almost the same amount usage percentage. Because people realize, like, in the regular season, people are not paying too much attention to these high impact players. I don't know why. But when it comes playoff times, like, they know. Like, coaches know, everybody knows, like, oh man, like, I have to have this player on the court because good things tend to happen. And that's been the case with Damiris Dantas. So I did want to make that comparison again for playoffs, specifically for Damiris Dantas, because her numbers elevate so much more when it comes to games that actually matter. And also when it comes to fourth quarters, when it comes to winning time, this is the person that you want to give the ball to. So everything improves across the board. But even so, the numbers remain pretty similar. So have to do the comparison, Dantas to Wallace. And Rasheed Wallace, I've been going over the clips and trying to work on that video for the highlights. It was amazing to just look at that team, the Portland Trailblazers team from the early 2000s, the late 90s. That was such a fun team to watch. And Rasheed Wallace was like amazing. But Wallace was most days, even though that team had, Damon Stoudemire, they had Scottie Pippen, they had Bonzi Wells, like they had Arvydas Sabonis. Rasheed Wallace was the number one option. So, for Damiris Dantas, the WNBA, for whatever reason, has not respected her game enough. She's just one who will show you, like, she'll show you her game and what she's got on the basketball court, but she's not going to be vocal about it, right? She's not going to complain. She's not going to say, I need more minutes. She's not going to, go to the media and say, oh, I'm a better player than this. You can think of other players that typically do that type of thing, or, they'll throw a fit on the court. No, she takes what is given to her and that's it. But sometimes I wish that she was more vocal, right? And even remembering last season when they had the exit interviews and everything like that, I was looking forward to her exit interview, but it seems like she didn't have one. So I was a little bit concerned with that because I didn't know what that meant. I didn't know if, and I'm not sure if Dantas was someone that the Fever protected when it came to the to the draft for the golden not golden for the Valkyrie Golden State Valkyrie. Um, yeah, there's a lot of things that we don't know, and that lack of appearance in the exit interview kind of made me think that maybe she wasn't coming back to the team. But she's just quiet. She's just a quiet assassin. And again, I feel like if she was a different type of person, like a Rasheed Wallace, who would be more vocal about the minutes that she should be getting, the shots that she should be taking. Um, Maybe we see different, but I don't know. I mean, she's 32 years old. She still has some game, of course, to go. Um, but I think this is going to be one of the biggest what ifs in the WNBA as far as like in her prime, if she was being given the opportunity, all the minutes and everything that I think she deserved. What would we have seen as far as the player? And I think it would have been something a lot closer to Rasheed Wallace, if not better version of Rasheed Wallace. So this is my NBA comparison. We have two more NBA comparisons to go: Caitlin Clark and Kelsey Mitchell. I still have it as a surprise as far as who I'm comparing them with. And then after those two are out of the way, then we're going to do projections. So I'm going to project what I think, based on stats and the player's game, their statistics for the next year, for the 2025 campaign. So we're going to do that, and then we're going to do a video for each player. And hopefully that leads us into the season and see how it all actually works out. Because again, this season, I can't wait for this to get started and hopefully quiet some of the narratives that are making their rounds around. So that's it for this video. Let me know what you think about Dantas and maybe if there's a different player that she reminds you of. But thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.